then everyone. My name's Josh and this is Krishna. And we're here at our site, Naturally Abundant Collective. We're in Caboolture. We've got about 4 acres of land that we're using on a 15-acre site. And we come here to connect, to share, and to build meaningful community, to build meaningful relationships with nature and with other people socially. So, hello again, I'm Josh and this is John.
How you going?
And he's a member here at Naturally Abundant Permaculture Collective, and we're just in the mango grove and just wanting to have a chat with John and talk to him about why is he helping us here. What are you doing, John?
At the moment I'm just remulching, but my purpose here is just like-minded people, pretty much. Be self-sufficient, get out into nature and yeah, I don't know, just enjoy life.
Have you tried one before, Kelly? Let's see how you feel. What do you think?
It's slightly sweet.
Yes.
A little bit fibrous, but crunchy like an apple.
I feel like you're sweet, but you're not as sweet as an apple that I know
Yeah.
in Paris. As a comparison, mine.
Like nothing I
the
can
taste.
compare to.
Yeah.
But
like
it
you
does
can't-
have that coconut flesh
Yeah.
consistency, and some coconuts that aren't that sweet.
No, it is. I think by connecting out in nature and in the garden as a starting point to then build on for other foundations. Everything comes from the earth, so by meeting and joining and connecting from our love of the earth is a wonderful foundation to create anything else from that. We get everything that we need, like nature provides everything with our needs. So. Kind of spider's web will support us all. There's underlying all these connections, and so by utilising tools like permaculture, we're able to break down systems, really complex interconnected systems, and we can just simplify them. And so as individuals, but as a collection of individuals, we can grow and encourage each other far greater than what we could do by ourselves. So really it's the coming together and the connecting and the joining of the dots. Together we are being able to develop not only landscaping systems that can support and help us, but also friendships and relationships that help and support us. So very much a holistic kind of view, wanting to work with plants and animals as well as human beings being fundamental. Our vision is of a community being able to support itself. We want to have diversity in our agriculture or in our landscapes or in everything that we do. Basically in our diet we want diversity, so definitely our gardens should look diverse, and our food gardens should look as diverse as our plates. And so the way that we grow them is that we want to accentuate and work with the plant's natural instincts. Got beautiful bananas, cassavas, moringas, And so we're just playing around, seeing what we can do with nature, seeing how nature responds to our interactions, trying to be placid and hands-off and loving and caring as much as we possibly can, while also respecting a balance of that we need to eat. And plants are our food source. So basically, as a community, we want to be able to grow a diet that is suitable for this environment. And while I'm vegetarian, so I believe that we can easily do it vegetarian. So that's what I'm trying to do, is grow my own diet, and anyone else who's in for the ride.
We're pretty close to becoming vegetarians, aren't we?
I'm struggling, but yeah.
But so I started my business 6.5 years ago. The only reason why that's relevant is the only reason I started a business was to get into farming. And the only reason I want to get into farming is to build a community. And the only reason I want to build a community is I want a safe place to live myself. So basically, it's, for me, personal, my journey is 6.5, 7 years. But this collective is 1.5 years. So 1.5 years? Yeah, and this stemmed then from Caboolture Permaculture social group, which was running for about 1.5 years, which we would meet, 2.5 years, which would meet once a month as a social thing. So then this just followed on, well, why don't we just still be social and have a good time, but build like roots. So instead of just helping each other's out on each other's personal properties, how about we do it together on a shared property where we can all access whenever we want, kind of thing, as opposed to like that privacy thing of going onto someone else's property. And then so from this community shared thing that we're already meeting, being able to then build and generate wealth and value for all of us. Basically, we got dwarf ladyfinger bananas here. So one of the main advantage is that they're not going to grow too tall. So these are like 2 to 3 meters, so 2.5 meters, and we've spaced them out at kind of 3 paces along, and in this way we're going to be walking the bananas around this bed, so they're going to have that same kind of position on the bed with the drainage as they walk around, and we just cut off the suckers that are coming off. So as we're getting suckers that are growing out from the bed or up the bed, we're going to be cutting them off so that the energy goes into the fruit, the bananas, and letting the suckers on these sides grow, so that when you come back in a couple of years, all these bananas positions have all slightly moved along, so they all be moved along in sync around the bed. That way we can get a continuous cropping cycle from them. By having bananas down the bottom of a raised system, we're having water and fertility flowing down to the bananas, which grow naturally kind of on riverbanks and embankments, creek banks. So we're kind of mimicking their preferred or natural place of growing. In amongst it, then we've got cassava, which needs nice, well-drained site up above on the bananas. So they're utilising the well-drained position while also protecting and covering the soil from wind and sun and the elements. Then on top of that, we've got, well, with the cassava, we've got moringa, and then pomegranate on the very high, with then we're trialling avocado, and pretty much no expectations with anything that we do. So like, take that we're trialing avocado with a grain of salt. We'll take everything that we say with a grain of salt, where everything is learning and developing and growing and just seeing how everything grows. The chances of avocado growing here being on the low flats is comical. But it is what it is. We're showing you the systems that we can get a really well-drained high plant, potentially, maybe, who knows, cover plant that's going to protect and provide a understory for these bananas to grow as well. So we're going to have the whole range of mimicked mountain by having these raised hugelkulture beds. So we are mimicking embankment. Avocados grow too on the edges of creeks and stuff, just high like in the mountains. Really well-drained alluvial soil. So then the root systems, so as above, so below. So we got to, if any plant is producing any kind of height on above, they there's got to be some kind of biomass underneath, so we've got to think about that. So just as on top, we don't want them to compete with light and kind of airflow, the environment. We don't want them competing in the environment above. We don't want them to be competing down below. So we want to put plants that like similar soil biology together. So being like fungal dominated soils, bacterial dominated soils, mixtures, how much. So where these plants naturally grow, whether or not they're forest plants or savanna plants, grassland, desert, like dry lands, is going to give us an indication of what soils they like. And we just want to put forest plants together so that we can create a forest floor, so that the species of fungi and bacteria that will be eating their organic matter will be ones that will naturally occur in that environment and would support that system and not take away from that system. The spacings underneath the ground, the water use of it, we're trying to select plants that work together and use things in sync and in unison. We're trying to connect up different plant families and communities with soil biology, mycorrhizal fungi, and other fungi species to try and create a soil food web, which will sustain so much more crop. We're planting more denser so that we can pick and choose crops, so that we can open up light and air for crops that is valuable to us for whatever reason, and let other crops be dropped down for drop mulch. So we're going to be creating our own mulch and our own organic matter. We can store water and carbon and everything in the soil. So the foundations for us, our human existence, is beautiful, healthy, rich soil. So we're cultivating from the soil all the way up and using plant communities to develop really strong guilds that will produce an absolute abundance for us in such an easy way. The idea is that we do some pruning, we do some harvesting, and the rest is all, fun and games. Yeah, in terms of gardening, and then after harvesting, a lot of processing and all that kind of stuff. But listen to music, dance around, and process and that kind of stuff. Same with what we do in gardening. Everything we do is fun and joy. There's no distinction between work, play, and rest so much. Bananas are very vigorous, and so we do have to manage the vegetation growth, taking off unwanted suckers that are growing up, as well as flowers, to get good size fruit. But we want to make sure that we're keeping them in a nice warm location. They are understory plants. They got big leaves, so they can lose a lot of moisture and be ripped to shreds by wind. So we want to be mindful. We want to put in some kind of protection against excess wind with them, and we want to keep them warm to have a nice healthy banana. But yeah, so to get good crop, making sure that they're got nice fertile, well-drained soil. Again, you're on the edge of the creek, so it's very fertile. All the nutrients and stuff washes down towards the creek, and also they got access to water. So although it's well-drained, they need good amounts of moisture, and so if you want to protect over the top of them too, so they don't dry out. So these ones have been ripped to shreds, just the wind for here being in an open position. So as all our other crops grow, they'll cover and help protect these bananas. If your leaves are getting all shredded like that, then they're not going to be able to produce food for the banana, and so you're not going to get the same crops that you want. But yeah, that's the dwarf ladyfinger banana. Yeah, we've got other bananas.
Okay,
so we've got the Java Blue, and we've got Red Dakar.
So how are they different?
So their fruit is different sizes, different textures, different flavours. So the blue Javas, that's these guys here. So they're like 4-5 metre, or 4.5, say, size-wise. And they're really creamy. They're also known as an ice cream banana. So blended up with the other ingredients and frozen to make ice cream. So it's a much more creamier banana. The skin colour has got like a bluey tinge to it, so therefore like the common name Java Blue. But so that's this one. So we're really excited about trying that. And we got, so the Red Dakar is on the following bed.
So are these all blue Javas?
So each bed has a different variety. That way mentally we know, and also cropping wise, so that we go to one bed at a time and deal with one species. So if there's different management in the different species, it's easy for us to communicate that as a collective.
Yes.
Like we need to keep it really nice and simple. And having lots of different species all over the place doing things, although I guess that's probably natural, it's not conducive to us being able to learn, connect, share and all that at this point in time.
Yes.
Yeah, so different species on different beds. We've also mimicked that within the pomegranates, being that one, we've got Azerbaijani, we got Wonderful, and then a Ben-Hur on it.
Okay, how different are they, the species?
Oh, so the fruits taste completely different too.
Wow.
And the size of them is slightly various. Azerbaijani is like medium, large. Wonderful's like a large, and Ben-Hur's like a large, extra large, like
Whoa.
size-wise. But then there's different flavors in the pomegranates too.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm only really new to pomegranates, and describing flavour is not the best thing for me. But yeah, they're all distinct, so therefore we're just trialling and just seeing like
Yep.
what will come of it. What else did I put in here? So figs is the other thing that I'm putting. So we've got the pomegranates up the top and the figs halfway, just on the east side. So we've got moringas on the back side,
Okay.
and that's because of height. And then we've got the figs. So pomegranates we can see as we walk up. So we're trialing. Again, everything is kind of just in trial. But we've got moringas halfway up and on the top, on the western side, so that it's not going to shade out our stuff on our eastern side, but it is going to give the bananas protection, and it is going to give us the crop. We've also got avocados that we're trialing on that western side, again for the shading out reasons, and moringa is going to be the cover crop for them too. So moringa is not only protecting bananas, but avocados, and giving us a crop that hopefully we can start producing something soon, like 2 years or so. So on the eastern side, then we got the pomegranate up on top, and we got pomegranate, depending on the bed, on the west side too, and then we got fig halfway. And so these beds, I guess, they're about 1 metre tall.
Yeah.
Some of them are a little bit taller, but they're about 1 metre tall. So we've got like kind of, if we're going down half, that's a 1/2 metre spacing. We're zigzagging it. So then if I was to plant just close in it, my spacing there would only be like 1/2 metre or so. But by zigzagging it, I'm able to give a metre spacing or 1.5 metre spacing. And then again, we're planting densely because we're going to have compact, heavy producing trees that give us lots of drop mulch. And if they're not producing, if they're not happy, we're going to be able to cut out trees. So say the pomegranates produce really well and we're all loving the pomegranates, and then we can cut down the figs and vice versa. So we don't have to leave all them in. Half the bed could be pomegranates, half the beds could be figs. We're just playing our options because we don't know. So by putting them both in, they're grown from cutting. We've been able to do it like economically. So we may as well plant it and see, because by the time that we know one or the other, it's going to be years. So we don't want to have to go back and backtrack, so we're just going to get it all in and just see what happens. We're trying cashew and a whole lot of other crops that are just going to be laughable, as in nothing serious about it, just that we're just trying to see what happens and see what the environment is doing here. And the best way that we can read the environment besides our own bodies is observing every other thing that's also in that environment and how is it performing. You know, if a plant is getting all fungal diseases because it's too wet in that environment, well then it's telling you something that might, if it's getting lots of fungal diseases and you know it's a plant that gets it when it's in a wet environment, then we can also understand without being in that environment for very long that, hey, this is a very wet environment. So yeah, observing everything that's going on. So the more that we're testing and trialing and just putting species in that we don't know about, it's giving us more information to then maybe manage species closer to what is suitable for this climate. Yeah, so everything a big test. But definitely like companion planting and gilding. So over here, so we've got old timber plantation that has failed. So we can crop all native bush tucker foods all under this and regen some of these taller, they're really beautiful trees, but they're not going to be able to be used for timber. But they can support wildlife and understories of all bush tucker plants and just experiment. Again, this site is all about connecting, sharing, learning. But over here we're regenning up an old mango orchard. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And what, there's 3 rows of 10 plants there, so there's over 30 mango plants there. And we're putting in between some of the spaces, so some jackfruit. Underneath the mangoes we're putting pineapple, turmeric, ginger. We're putting chilies in there. We're getting passion fruit to grow up the mangoes, so therefore we're maximising that space. And instead of just getting a mango crop, we're going to be getting all these other crops by using the same kind of inputs that we would have to do anyway just for a mango crop. Also, we're in the subtropics, so a mango crop here is of no real commercial value for us, so it's just for our local community and for processing more so. Dried mango chutneys, all the rest of it, but it's not feasible for us to really be focusing on mango production. So really these understory crops and these other added extra crops like the jackfruit and stuff will really help. We've got ice cream bean in there as a drop mulch. I scattered pigeon pea seeds as well, and I've got some moringas that I'm testing more in the low just to see if they handle like the water, because we're right on the low, so water from everywhere kind of would be accumulating down on these flats. So it'd be an old kind of swamp areas, wet eucalypts floodplains is basically where we're on, so hence the mounds here. But as we improve the soil, we mitigate against all those effects, and we keep adding organic matter. We can trial different species and see how the system develops. But definitely linking, connecting plant species, stop not having things in isolation, seeing how we can support multiple plant species in a space. Different heights above the soil, different heights below the soil, different root systems, deep tap roots, tuber crops, aerial plants, vines, trees, everything. Yeah, we want forest production. And then we've got beetle leaf that'll grow out. So that's a little Asian leaf that you wrap up and yeah. So there is a beetle nut that they chew with a beetle leaf, but that one's more bitter, that leaf. Got 6 of these beds. So that little one there got a couple of cashew nuts. And then down here we're going to put wetland species or low crops, so sapodillos, Malabar chestnuts will all grow here. So Malabar chestnuts, you can eat the young leaves and you can roast and cook the nut, or the seeds, the nuts. And you can also crush it and make a flour thing out of it too. So we got cassava, sweet potato, Malabar chestnut, we'll maybe later on see macadamia nuts or so. But see how many stuff we can, again, for growing our own diet. Arrowroot, the more carbs, just have a diversity to see which one as a community we like and is worthwhile growing. Mushrooms would be an amazing crop to do, especially if we can produce the wood to then inoculate on, so we're again completing that cycle, or finding a place where we can get wood shavings, and if we can use the mulch or anything to grow. Mushrooms would be amazing to cultivate. So then this is what we started, was 4 raised beds here, which the idea was that we were going to do 26 raised beds. Each bed would have a fortnight kind of cropping. So we would plant the bed in terms of harvest season. But now we're just more playing around and just having fun and experimenting with this site, seeing what happens. The idea being that if we have a good foundation on this site and we know what things work, what doesn't work, we can go on to another site with no risk basically. We've already got clientele, we've already got the community, we already figured out that that's what we need the site for, whatever it is, whether like it's a social thing that we're talking about or a business thing, it doesn't matter. If we have a good foundation here and understand, then we can expand.
4 beds in here?
So 4 raised beds. Yep. So we got 2 dams down the back. So from here across is about 4 acres, and so that's the collective's land. Yeah, so it's a 15-acre site on total, and it's an old pine forest. So yeah, butternut pumpkins we've got a whole heap of. So Okinawa sweet potato, we've got a whole heap of. Sweet potato? Yeah. Wow. And then again, heaps of cassava. So we've just put in really easy crops because this is all volunteer and like people got to want to be here. And so we can't put in crops that require lots of neediness because we can't guarantee that anyone's going to be here. So all these crops have had to just last on the goodwill of people wanting to actually come here. So because we got the 2 dams and we're lucky that Andrew is a solar fanatic. No, not fanatic. He's just he knows what he's talking about. So he's put on a lot of solars and solar panels. We've been able to pump from the dam using solar and water. Yeah, he's got a little system that he can turn it on with his phone. When I'm there here the other day, I was like, oh, these plants are looking a little bit dry. He's like, okay, like you're not using the bed anymore? Nah, and next second the irrigation comes on. So we've been able to water them in, but we don't really, once they're established, we don't really need to. So. Yep, sweet potato, cassava, longevity spinach is that lighter green that's in there. So that's a really good salad smoothie. That's got a lot of use. Longevity spinach, the common name, kind of gives it away that it's a really powerful ingredient to be adding. This one's more of a herb bed, vegetable bed. So the sweet potato runs absolutely rampant. So this other bed is a lot more diverse in terms of species. So we've got yimicas and a whole lot of other herbs. Like yimica is like a bean yam. So it's like coconutty. It's a yam. So tuber. We've got rosemary in here. We've got chives. We've got nasturtiums, basils, pigeon pea, the arrowroot on the other side, chilies. We got avocados in this one too. So we've got 5 avocados in this bed. We've got 5 avocados in the other bed. So they will grow. So eventually all these species here, we're going to be able to use these seeds and keep growing and populating other gardens and spaces.
How'd you get it all built up?
So we used Caboolture. So we chopped down pines and had garden waste. So we get garden waste delivered here too, which we can turn into compost. And the beds were dug down, all logs piled in them, garden waste put on top, the soil put back on top, compost put on top of that, all inoculated, and then the mulch on top. Well, Andrew has a excavator and he's bought an old tractor too, and we're looking at getting an old farm truck to be able to get around on site and move things around as well. So as we grow, we can get more and more help doing things. So Lego spinach, the spring onions. So yeah, this is a really diverse bed. So still just playing with. Nasturtiums is $5 a punnet for the flowers. So we're interested in selling them on. Yeah, so they're really good because they grow wild and yeah, they're a valuable crop. So we're trying to mix that ease and natural element of we shouldn't have to force a plant. If it doesn't grow well, it doesn't grow well. So we're going with easy stuff that we can crop and be smart. We don't want this labour-intensive, chemical-intensive lifestyle. We want this really simple, back-to-earth.
Mother Nature.
Exactly. If Mother Nature can do it, so can we, by letting Mother Nature do it. So like the green revolution kind of thing, like let's step back and see how little we can do to get the maximum input and find that balance, as opposed to how much can we do to stretch things to the limit, how little can we do to let things be abundant. So cropping, so we've got curry leaf in this bed too. This next one is now starting more of the trees and shrub crops. So we got pawpaws in every bed because they're nice, easy to live, short-lived plant. So we've got pawpaws in every, but there's another 5 avocados here. We got like 40 moringas. Oh no, I've cut it down, sorry. I cut out some I overplanted. So we got 30 moringas. We got another sweet potato. So all the plants have got to quickly get up before the sweet potato smothers them. And then on the east side, so this is west side, so we've just put in some cranberry hibiscus as a drop mulch plant too. So that's a fast growing hibiscus that'll give us leaf crop and flowers. And then on this east side, so the smaller plantings, I've got acerola cherry and feijoas. And on the top I got blackberry jams. And I can also play around with grummachamas maybe. I'm trying to keep this as an autumn-winter cropping bed. The moringas will be cropped whenever they need to be cropped. But everything else maybe like that around that autumn-winter. So then the next bed I can do spring-summer. So that can be blueberries. This one would actually be raspberries too that I could probably do. Raspberries autumn cropping here. So arrowroots. So we can grow them for mulch. Like they provide, look at all that organic matter that they just give us. It's very easy to maintain. They get too big, we can just whippersnip them down or cut them down. I haven't heard that before, but so I don't know.
I bought some arrowroot to keep the fragrance in.
So yeah, there's different types of it. Yeah. So clove basil's up close here. The Lego spinach is that purple spinach. Yeah, you take a leaf and crush it, and you'll know exactly why it's called clove basil. It's really strong.
Asians use it?
Yeah, well, I've used it as a clove replacement too because this flavour is just so similar.
I wonder if it has the same properties as like...
Yeah, well, I'm assuming that...
If you can extract the oils from that.
Yeah, something's got to be the same for it to be so similar flavour-wise, right? And then we got the next bed, which is kind of in progress, so you can kind of see the progression. So we started at the first bed, just being closest to where we can dump materials and everything, and slowly worked our way across. This is more like a bordering beds, because it borders then on the edge. All the rest of the beds, we definitely want to go with a more curved, soft approach around the dam, so going angled around to like kind of encompass the dam. We much want to go natural and soft. These lines are pretty hard to do as a nature lover, for me personally. Having the straight is kind of hard to stomach. But, practicalities and what we got with this is really beautiful border garden. I can't imagine like avocados and moringas and acerolas as my border garden. Go for it. But, and we'll keep going. He's got ponies that he leases out there, but later on we can go. We'll go look at this other bed that's in the progress. So then we can do a nursery here too. We got the dam, so the nursery using a lot of water would be right near the dam, so the water used and excess water would just go straight back into the dam. And then we can sell some of these more valuable plants to other people to also share that component. I like the idea of like a fruit of the month club where people can buy jams, chutneys, liqueurs and stuff of, and like it would be a perfect gift to get a 12-month subscription to being able to be able to taste all tropical fruits and things in all different forms and manners. I reckon that would be, the yuppies would definitely go for. Well, if you don't have access to land, right, you can't taste half this stuff.
Yeah, I haven't seen how. I don't understand all this, but it's really cool.
Yeah. So then this bed has been done to the stage of needing mulch. So basically, we don't worry about shaping or doing too much at this soil level because we dump on another couple of feet of mulch. Over time they will rot down, but we got logs in here. So logs are our, like, pretty much providing organic matter for the life of the log.
Wow.
Yeah, so these beds are fertilized and ready to go for the next 20 years. Right? people to follow what their hearts say and follow what their interests and what they're passionate about. And we feel that when people are doing this, they're living in a line with their true selves and are able to put out so much more without depleting their energy. We've got big plans and goals and dreams, but the journey is so much more important than any destination, we realise. So